What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Honestly Nay, and over Thanksgiving, Netflix decided to bestow upon us a 10-part remake of Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. The story centers around a sex-positive, pansexual black woman living in Harlem, New York. She's in a relationship with these three very different guys, and basically it's her life, and we followed Miss Nola Darling over, the course of these 10 episodes. So what I first want to establish is that Spike Lee is an artist. Spike Lee makes art. And art is meant to inspire, it's meant to make people think, it's meant to generate discussion, and that's exactly what that art is doing. And his art touched on a lot of the things that is happening in Black culture, also known as American culture, today, from gentrification to police brutality, sexism, sexuality, art in itself. It jumps around, and it's very much an art that imitates life, and I think that that's what makes it so successful. That's the main thing that I hear from people, is that we like the story, we like how it feels, we like that we see this black woman in her element, in the element that is New York, and she's running around, she's living her life, she's living these supposed black girl dreams and these black girl goals. But again, Spike Lee makes art. So while I very much appreciate this art for what it is, I very much appreciate the fact that it's been created and that it's out there and it's something for people to be able to get their hands on and to look at and to play with and to come to their own conclusions. In regards to the sexuality, to the relationships that are taking place in this series, Spike Lee could have done with hiring, a sexuality educator, somebody who knows a little bit something about not heteronormative relationships, about queer relationships. He could have hired a sex positive pansexual. And I know that, there was lots of queer black writers in this writing room, but ultimately he's still the storyteller. So it's still very much, maybe that's just my bias, but it really feels like a black woman's sexuality viewed through a male gaze. But in regards to the sex positive pansexuality means that you have the ability to be attracted to anybody, to anyone, regardless of their gender, regardless of their orientation. But all we see Nola with in this series is she's with 3 cisgender men and a cisgender woman. And we're gonna sweep back around to that. So there was nobody who was out of the gender binary. There was nobody who was on the fluidity spectrum. There was nobody who could be readily identified as cis. And it would have been nice to have seen that, since they wanted to use that buzzword of pansexuality. But again, even when I saw the trailer, I knew that we weren't going to see real pansexuality. So what I think this series is more or less showing is a very rough, I don't want to say bad, but a very rough look at polyamory. And polyamory, break it down, poly means many, amor, love, many love. So it's a person who is engaging in multiple loving relationships with multiple people at the same time. But I don't even think that that's really the case of what we see here, because that implication of loving relationships means that you're aware of this relationship and you're kind of aware of the ins and outs. So one of the things that I did appreciate is the fact that, Nola's got her rules. We only have sex in my loving bed. Condoms are worn at all times. Never 2 guys on the same day. She has these rules, and I guess they can be looked at as boundaries. And don't get me wrong, boundaries are important. But in order for true polyamory to work, you have to have input from both sides. You have to have input from all of the people who are involved in the relationship. You also have to, I would say that it's super important for a polyamorous relationship to be positive is that you can't have multiple people going, so you're going to go hang out with that other person, or so you're giving your attention to this and that person, because that is what polyamory is. And what I saw oftentimes with a lot of the conversations she was having with a lot of her partners, they weren't positive conversations, they weren't healthy conversations. She was obviously in relationships with 4 monogamous people, and those monogamous people were set in their monogamy and were hoping that, I'm gonna do this one thing and all of a sudden I'm gonna be in this monogamous relationship like I want to be. And that's not true polyamory. Going back to the relationships that she was having, the first few episodes, I was really uncomfortable with the conversations that she was having with her partners. And I felt like, the reason why she has those rules is because she's trying to keep herself safe. She wants to assert that dominance, but I also feel like she's got boundary issues kind of in general, and by having these rules, she's enforcing that. But her partners also have their own issues as well. So she's not the only one who's at fault here, because you do need 2 people to tango. But I remember watching it going, I'm not liking these conversations that she's having. These are not positive conversations that one would have in a polyamorous relationship. Another thing that really pissed me off, and this is what really makes me think like queer Black women writers wrote this, but this idea that women turn to women when they're done with men, or when they're over with men, like the cleanse that she took. So not only are you perpetuating the idea that everyone likes men, but you're also taking away the power and the revolution it is in loving a Black woman. And I really applaud Opal for being the adult in this situation, and kind of being there to set her own boundaries, to set her own rules, especially in regards to her child, and not letting Nola sweep in and sweep out and do whatever it is that she wants. But my queer female writers sat down and wrote, I'm gonna go on a man cleanse, let me call Opal. Like, what is that? I don't appreciate that at all. Another thing is, there was a missed opportunity here. I hate it when I watch shows that have my Black people in it, have my Black issues in it, are talking about sex and sexuality, and I don't see any condoms. Why are there no condoms? Now, I know that in Nola's little list of rules, she says that condoms have to be worn at all times, but why doesn't she have a candy bowl dish full of condoms right there by the nightstand? It would be eclectic and beautiful and awesome, and it would show that condoms do exist in this world. One thing that really irritates me is that, like, even on Insecure, when asked about the whole condom thing there, Issa said that, that the condoms are kind of implied. But we are not a generation of implication. We are a generation of if I see you do it, then I know that it can be done, kind of thing, So I really feel like there was a missed opportunity to go ahead and do some work about condoms. Also, in polyamory, you have those conversations about, when did you get tested? Because I know that if you have multiple partners, I'm not going to shame you for that, but every person you have sex with, I have sex with. So I don't need names, but I would like to know, I'm having sex with this person and this person's got tested and they don't feel like they put themselves at risk for anything. And that's something really simple and really easy and really open to do. And that's definitely, in polyamorous relationships, there's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of checking in, and a lot of making sure that everybody is receiving what they need in that situation. And it very much seems like in this situation, the only person receiving what she needs is Nola. But I'd venture to say she probably doesn't know 100% of the things that she needs. We have so few, but more coming out. I appreciate y'all. So when we get like one Black thing, we compare it to the other Black thing, right? But I saw a lot of parallels happening in She's Gotta Have It that were happening in Insecure. For one point, the relationship with Molly and Dro, how Dro says that he's in a polyamorous relationship, which I think is false. I don't think Dro is in a polyamorous relationship with his wife Candace. I think Dro has an open marriage. And what that means, what the difference is, polyamory is loving relationships with bonds and connections that you're actively working to form. Now, he's already made his bond and connection. He's married. You can be married and still be in a polyamorous relationship, but what this relationship more looks like to me is that he's in an open relationship and that he can have sex with whomever he wants, but he's not going to have that emotional tie, that emotional connection. And I see similar parallels in Nola, that she has as much of a tie and as much of a connection as she needs to achieve what she needs to in that moment. Let me stay on Insecure for a minute. So what Nola kind of really reminds me of is like Lawrence is she thinks that she's a good guy because she's open and she's honest, but really she's an ass. And you can see the frustration that her partners have on their faces when they're dealing with her. And if you have to sit and be like, oh, why am I with this person multiple times in your relationship, like maybe you should really evaluate why you're with this person, because she be on some Lawrence stuff. So one thing that I really did like was the last episode. I really liked the feeling and the flow of the last episode. But again, this is not true polyamory, because how do you invite 3 people to an ambush dinner and then ambush them with naked art? In a polyamorous relationship, you would have let people know, like, hey, I want you to come to this dinner. In attendance of this dinner will be my other lovers. Now, she invited all 3 of them over and then sat down talking about something, yo, if y'all want to leave, you want to leave. Like, I should have had the option to do that before. But then again, like I said, Nola thinks she a good dude, but really she an ass. Because that was an asshole move to invite all of us over here and expect me to maintain my composure and you not give me a heads up. And don't try to, I know people came on my timeline talking about some, well, the other dudes was always asking about who's these other dudes. Sure, they was always asking about who's these other dudes, but there's a way to do things. There's a way to do things. But what I really did enjoy was the openness. That felt like real polyamory to me. And I wish that feeling and those ideals would have been carried through the whole series. So, in all, Spike Lee is an artist, and I appreciate this art because it is generating conversations. It is giving Black people the opportunity to see themselves portrayed on TV, and it's giving Black people some jobs. Employment is fantabulous, and it's doing its job. It is doing exactly what art is meant to do. But in terms of the content, we missed a lot of marks. And that vexes me just a touch, because as an educator, I know that I'm going to get these questions. I know that media is very important, and media does do a lot of education. And for the person who doesn't have access to a sexuality educator, this is what they think sex-positive pansexuality looks like. And if they're thinking that they're sex-positive pansexual, this does not help them determine whether they are or whether they're not. So I think that it's super important that we keep in mind that this is art. And while we have these discussions and while we're tossing this art around and we're playing with it, we keep in mind that the content is not correct. So thank you so much. What you think of that review? Should I do some more reviews? I like to review the things. Give me a like. Hit that like, that follow, that share, and I will check y'all later. Oh, swing back around. If you want to get a hold of me, you can Facebook me, you can tweet me, you can Instagram me. All of it is at HonestlyNay. Okay, I'll check y'all later. Bye.